All righty, we are live. Welcome back to the 10 Horse Monty YouTube channel, Tuesday Night Live. Man, it seems like it's been a long time, but it's only been a week. I always look forward to these, and things are changing so fast right now out there on the water. It's just like it's a weird time of the year. It's like a transition time of year. The winter's kind of consistent, summer's somewhat consistent, and this time of year it's like they're up there and then they're not there, and then they're out deep, and then they're up shallow, and it's just
things disappear for like 3 days.
Yeah, it's like, and then like the other day I was out there, and I was looking at them, and man, I was throwing a little minnow at them, and they were swimming away from it.
Really,
it was
skittish.
It was weird, dude. I mean, they swam away from that minnow like there was a muskie coming at them or something. And I'm like, these fish have been hammered already, and it's they just got out there like 2 weeks ago.
Get smart.
Yeah, they get smart super quick.
Where do you live at?
We live in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Okay. So it's about 100 miles south of St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
But we fish over in southern Illinois near Carbondale most of the time.
I gotcha.
Yeah. There's a bunch of small lakes over there, and a lot of them have grass, and there's some strip pit lakes and stuff. But yeah, man, they're fishers just seem to be getting smarter and smarter.
But it's funny.
They've seen enough jighead minnows here recently. That's also probably part of it.
That's for sure. It's funny though. This time of the year, and like the rough bite and fall are my two favorite times of the year.
Yeah,
because either you're a hero or a zero. You're either going to get right in a hurry, or you're just going to struggle all day long, and you're going to try to piece together 10 or 15 pounds. And that's what I don't know. I'm a glutton for punishment, I guess. I love this time of the year.
Yeah, I like stupid fish. Those are my favorite. Just
100%.
Stupid fish are fun, but when they're up shallow, it's even better in the fall.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, see that little trophy there behind you, man.
Oh yeah, I didn't know. Like, it's kind of a subtle flex, but you had to get it going.
Hey, it deserves to be there for sure.
Yeah, I'm sitting in my dining room table or whatever, so it's like I'll put it through the little kitchen window there. But
I love it.
It's a little Club Derby championship,
Yeah, it's still soaking it all in. It's crazy for sure. It's definitely the most definitely my biggest accomplishment as far as in the fishing world goes. Most money I've ever put in my bank account in one shot. That's for sure.
Yeah, I got to watch a little bit of it. I didn't get to watch as much as I wanted to because just the way my my work day was working out, ended up having other things going on, so I wasn't able to just soak it up. But I got kind of bits and pieces of it, and I was amazed at how tight it was. Like, especially like that. It seems like the second through like sixth or something or seventh, it was like super, super tight. And
I think I won by like 6 ounces, if I'm not mistaken. It was really tight. It was like I didn't leave any room by any means. I thought I was going to lose on a dead fish. Like I had a 4-pounder that died on me that morning that I tongue hooked, and I was like, oh no, like. I thought I was going to lose. I was sitting in line, and like, just to kind of like recap the weigh in, I was sitting there in line. I break out the scale, Jason Burrows walks over to me and he's like, what do you got? And I was like, dude, I told you I got like 12 pounds. Like, I don't really have much. I just lost a 5-pounder 20 minutes before. And I was like, man, I was just heartbroken. I was like, I just blew the tournament. Like, that was my shot. You don't put yourself in this position very much. And I'm sitting there with, and so we start pulling fish out. I start weighing him, and they said it said on my scale I had 13.10. Well, I had a dead fish, so that's 13.6. And then on stage, he was like, "You need 13.9 to win." I was like, "Oh boy!" So I didn't think I was going to do it, and then ended up having 14.1. So I was like, "I'll take it." Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's like you said, it is so hard to get in contention to win. And then when something happens like that, where you lose a fish and you're like, that was the fish. I mean, that very well could have been the fish. Like at the end of the tournament, if it doesn't go your way, which it did go your way, thankfully.
Yeah.
But you can look back and say that fish, definitely would have put me to where I needed to be.
And a lot of people probably could have done that. I mean,
True.
like Justin Kimmel, one of the guys I travel with, Justin was like, oh, he's like, I lost 25 pounds worth of fish. And, some of that might be a stretch. It might have been, but Kimmel, he's not going to lie to me about it. I mean, I feel like realistically, it's like there's a lot of lost fish in that tournament. It's just a matter of, when it's your time, it's your time, I think.
There's a lot of luck that goes into some of these tournaments, right? Like everything's got to go your way. I mean, you can.
For sure. I mean, I don't know about a lot of luck. I don't want to say that, but you've definitely got to have some things go your way.
Right.
100%. Like, got to have some stuff go your way. And I can think of a lot of people who've like won tournaments where like they've spent time broken down and like things like that. So and still overcome it. So I think that if you can, like everybody's got some adversity in tournaments and like nothing will ever go 100% correct, but it's like, if you can work through it and you just land the right amount of fish, once your time, it's your time.
Well, it's how you recover after those.
I think so.
Downfalls, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's a lost fish, a broke down motor, trolling motor not working in the morning, whatever it may be, it's just how you react in the next 15, 20, 30 minutes after that.
Yeah. I had like 9 pounds at 4:00. Like I didn't have to check in. I checked in at 5:15 that last day. We had a long day, like NPFL, the way they do it. So like when you check in, so day 1, day 2, you swap boat draws. So like if you're early on, you come in, if you're an early boat drawer, you come in the earliest. If you're a late boat drawer, you come in the latest. And then day 3, if you're in the top 10, like if you're first, you come in 1st through 12th, come in the last flight at 5:15. So you get a longer day. Everybody fishes all 3 days.
Now, do you go out first if you're 1 through 10?
Yes.
Okay, so you go out first and come in last. So you have a super long day.
Yep. So going into day 2, or day 3, like you want to be in the top 12 to give yourself that extra time. And yeah, man, I at 4:00 or 3:30, I think I had like 9 pounds in the boat. I think I made 4 coals after that, like 3 or 4 coals. Like I caught a 4-pound spot and several just like 1/4 pound coals. Nothing crazy, just enough to like get me there. You know what I mean? I caught that 4-pound spot was huge because I got rid of a legit 12.5 incher. And yeah, like that was huge. And then some like 1/2 pound, 1/4 pound coals and like just enough to get me where I needed to be, and lost that 5-pounder. And that would have been a big deal. But I mean, hey, it is. I'm good with it. Whatever's number 1. So
yeah. So what's your history on Murray? Have you been there before?
Hartwell, but
I'm sorry.
I've been there. I fished 3 tournaments there now. But it's like, so people kind of always loop in the Carolinas together. I live in North Carolina. It's about 4.5 hours for me to get there. I love the lake. It's a lot of fun. I fished there one time I actually fished there in 2016. I fished a FLW tour event as a co-angler. That was the only one of those I'd fished, but just jumped in. I was in college and like, there's a tournament close to the house. I fished that one as a co-angler. I got a check there. That was when I think Clark Wendlandt won it, if I'm not mistaken, bed fishing. And then or maybe, yeah, I don't know. I think it was Clark. Anyways, won bed fishing, and then that was April. I fished a tournament there in May for NPFL in 2022, a little bit sooner than what we were there. And I caught them all like top water, like up on the points, like herring spawn stuff. And this time it was like they were a little bit further along, and I never really got that herring deal going. But I also fished a Toyota there in the spring, and I got my butt kicked, but like, we won't talk about that one. So that's about it as far as tournaments I've ever fished there. But it's a fun lake. Like I think it patterns really well. I think it's a herring lake. I mean, if you like running and gunning, and it's for you. But otherwise,
I'm curious. I definitely want to dive into your tournament more, and then the herring thing. You always hear people talk about. That's such a unique forage species for bass. And it's like, unless you've actually been up in it and experienced it, you can't really compare it to anything. Because around here we got gizzard chat and some threadfin chat. But they seem to probably migrate a lot slower, kind of ball up and just kind of move along. Where I've heard like the herring are really like getting after it, It's so a little bit about patterning herring, herring bass and stuff.
Yeah. So herring they're saltwater fish, right? That were moved into some of these inland lakes. So like they're saltwater bait fish. They survive in a freshwater environment apparently. But you've got like a Lanier, a Hartwell, a Murray, lakes like that. We've got some of them. This lake that's about an hour north of me, Bugs Island, Carr Lake. There's some herring in there. It's a lot more shad, but it can kind of fish a little bit like a herring fishery. That's the closest thing I have to it. But yeah, as far as like those herring lakes go, man, they're the bait's super nomadic. The fish are nomadic. Typically speaking, your big ones live shallower. Like this time of year in general, like up on the points, like shallower and things like that. Or they're, up there living around docks or whatever. I mean, John Cox, he caught them bed fishing still. I mean, there's still some largemouth up around there. And then every now and then they do get out in the piles with the spots, but a lot of times, like, there's so many different patterns that you can go do on a herring fishery. It's just a matter of what's catching the better average size fish to me. I had like 15 rods on the deck each day, probably 5 in the back of the boat, 5 on the right, 5 on the left side. Like I was, just keeping everything honest because it changes every single day. Like you almost have to figure out what they're doing every single day. Like you might catch them in, even if you're just brush pile fishing, like you're dialed into brush piles, like they might be in 10-foot piles one day and the next day they're in 25. So it's like, you better adjust. And if you don't, then you could go all day without a bite. And if you do fast enough, then it's the difference between getting 40, 50 bites and getting 5 bites.
Yeah.
So,
well, would you say that, and there may not be a right answer to this, but would you say it's more common for the bass in Hartwell to do more typical largemouth stuff, like kind of snug up close to cover and hang out and wait for bait fish to come over? Or is it more common for them to actually be more pelagic where they follow the herring around? Or is it a little bit of both?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think on like a herring spawn, you can find sometimes it'll be like all spots on an area, and sometimes it'll be like mostly largemouth with like spots further out deep. And then I think sometimes it's just when it comes to like herring spawn stuff, but like you can find them mixed in. Like if you find a brush pile, you can catch a largemouth of it. Like there's probably a few more there. Like, so that's a big deal. Like, just finding out what the largemouth are doing. Like, I think that's a big deal, but cause you could go around the lake and catch spots pretty much anywhere, like anywhere. It's just, in the dirt to 50 foot of water. There's roamers that are just out there chasing shad that you can chase around like that on forward facing sonar. And then there's 100% fish that's shallow all year long. It's just a matter of like where the biggest ones are as far as tournament scenarios go. Did I answer your question, or am I all over the place?
No, you nailed it, man. You nailed it. Cause it's like a new thing. I've never experienced, what herring lakes do and how that all operates. I figured, I figured bass are bass. To some point, they're going to be doing a little bit of everything, and that what's going on out there.
How long throughout the year does that herring spawn last?
So I guess it realistically, like your herring spawn and your shad spawn are like somewhat around the same time. That herring spawn lasts. It depends on water temperature that can prolong it in like areas of the lake that can be a little bit cooler at times. So like you might be up a river and the water's 65 and down the lake it's like 75. So it just depends on where you're at on the lake, but it can last probably a month or two.
Okay.
Realistically. It's kind of like a shad spawn in a sense, where like it depends where you're at on the lake. You can find it usually earlier in one area of the lake and then later in one area of the lake. I'm typically not a great, like, you know what's funny? Like, I'm not a very good shad spawn fisherman. Like, I've never been good in the shad spawn, but I like a herring spawn. I don't know why. I don't know what's different about it. I think if you can. I don't know. I just really enjoy herring spawn fishing. You can throw a lot more fun stuff, I feel like.
Do you think it's easier to find a herring spawn versus a shad spawn?
No. Yes and no. I think it's easy to find both, but finding one that has fish on it is hard.
Oh, okay.
Because like even this week, the herring spawn, like I knew what was going on. Like you pretty much just ride down the lake and look for birds, and like you're like, oh, okay, what's that? And you pull up and you can see they're kind of up there on the bank doing something, and they're chasing herring around. But the problem is like finding places that have like fish that are on them. Around the house, like here in Raleigh, like man, there's no. Like we have shad spawns like crazy, and you can be around them, you can see fish blowing up on your bait and like not catch them, but like the subtlest change makes the difference in catching 20 pounds versus nothing in the morning. And then there's some lakes, that are like clear water lakes. I think that they're a little bit easier to get bit, but just finding the size and finding the right fish around that I think that most tournaments in general, like I would say late April through maybe even late April through like the end of May, I would say most of them, a shad spawn or depending on the lake herring spawn plays into that. Like usually they weigh a couple key fish that happens first thing in the morning for the most part.
So just like a shad spawn, that herring spawn is done fairly quick in the morning once the sun gets up.
Yeah, unless if you get some clouds and you get some wind and stuff, then it can go on for a few hours.
Okay.
But for the most part, yeah, like if even with that, if it's like 9 o'clock, yeah, it's pretty much.
But are you actually patterning that? Like you found 3 spawns in practice. You can't go back. You're not going back to those tournament day, and they're not going to be there again, are they? Or is it just a random like driving down the lake and you see them?
Yeah, it's funny. So like at our tournament, like at Hartwell, I didn't start the same place any day. I ran new water the first morning, the morning of every single tournament, or every single day of the tournament. I ran new water because I never found a place that I got like caught them fast, and I knew that was going to be a deal. Like I'm pretty sure that's how Will Harkins and Trent and like Trent Palmer, for example, one of my roommates last day, Trent caught like 15 pounds in the first like hour of the day. I mean, it's like so important. Like if you find a spot that it happens fast, that has a good group of fish, you can catch them in the first hour. I actually thought realistically that my tournament I was going to have to get my big bites in the first 2 hours of the day. And then after that, I was just going to go try to fill a limit of 2 pounders. That was kind of what I figured was going to be my deal, but it just kind of worked out where I was catching them better in the afternoons, surprisingly. So, I don't know.
It's interesting how you mentioned how like you can see fish blowing up on the herring or the shad or whatever, and they seem to ignore your baits. That's like one of the most frustrating things. That happens in fall around here. They start chasing the shad and the shad ball up, and they start schooling on the shad, and you throw all kinds of stuff past them. I mean, it looks like you could just take like just a gold Aberdeen hook with a feather on it, just throw it out there, and they're just going to crush it.
You would think so, right?
And they just let it go by. They let it go by, and it's like sometimes I've had like 4 and 5 pounders busting like 10 feet from the boat, just going nuts, and you cannot get them to bite. They get so finicky sometimes, and then sometimes they're just completely dumb and they'll bite it.
So sometimes you just flip your jig over there and they just crush it.
Yeah, like, it's crazy.
Looks nothing like what they're eating, and all of a sudden
it's so funny you say that. The funniest thing, dude, on day 3 of our tournament, I like the fish are up schooling, right? And I had missed several on a walking bait in that in that tournament, and I was just getting so tired of it. So I'm like, screw it, man. I see some fish up schooling aimlessly, and I just pick up a shaky head and throw it out there into the middle of it. And I'm like looking around like at my graph and like looking at baits, just trying to think about what I want to do because I was tired of missing top water and stuff. And sit there and pick it up and like one's on it, 2 pound spot. It's just like, I guess you just throw a shaky head in a schooling fish. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
This one right here. I was like, but
We got it tied
like,
on.
yeah, whatever works, you know. I was like, I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. I weighed in probably half my fish on a shaky head though. The other half were on a fluke. I just couldn't dig it out of my boat. It was tied up in too many rods.
Yeah. Well, let's start back at practice. So
Yeah.
the NPFL, they have, is it 2 days of practice and they have an off day and then another day of practice or something like that?
3 days of practice, off day, followed by the tournament. So,
Gotcha.
Usually
break down your practice a little bit for us. Like what were you looking for before you went to the lake, and did you find it, and how did all that get put together? Because that's, a lot of times there's two ways. One, a lot of times you can have them just a phenomenal practice and then it goes to crap. And then I hear some people say, they were really kind of struggling. They didn't really put it together and they had to actually, pre-fish practice during the tournament and hope that things.
Yeah, I did that. I did that. And you have to almost, I think in every tournament, you have to practice at least to some extent. I think very few tournaments actually get won fishing the way you plan on going into it. But yeah, absolutely, man. So like fishing the shad spawn's a waste of time. I mean, I agree with that for the most part. Depending on the lake I'm at.
Shaky head for the win.
Well,
Man, I love a shaky head.
If you don't have a plan in the morning for the first 2 hours, you might as well go fish the shad spawn, right? Like,
I mean, just try to find a new one. I don't know.
Right.
I couldn't figure it out, but I don't know, man. So my practice. So I work full time. I actually work for Lawrence for Navico. So that's my day job. So I work in sales for them, and I'm fortunate enough to get the time off to go fish these tournaments. So I know my electronics pretty well by default, and kind of I try to use that to my advantage as much as possible. I did a lot of fishing in practice. I usually, even though I'm off for these tournaments, like I'm typically on the phone probably half the day for work. So I was, I'm on phone calls or whatever else. And usually when I get on a phone call, I just go idle and just look for stuff that I want to throw out in the tournament. So I was kind of doing some of that. I wasn't really on much. That last day, I just decided from like noon on, I was just going to go idling. So I just literally went graphing for the rest of the practice. Cause I knew I could get a few bites on a shaky head. I could get a few bites on fluke. But it was still not good. I never caught a 4-pounder in practice. I could catch some 2s here and there, but like, honestly, I caught like 5 fish all day the first day of practice, like 5 fish all day the second day of practice. Same story like day 3. And meanwhile, Patrick Walters, who's also one of my roommates, calls and he's going to take a nap in the truck at 11 o'clock. So keep in mind, so he just won at Murray, right, for the elite event. And he comes over to Hartwell and at like 10:30, he's like, yeah, I'm going to take a nap in the truck. It's like, what do you mean? It's like, you just got here. And he's like, yeah, I know, but like, I saw what I needed to see at like 17 pounds this morning. I'm just going to go take a nap and go out there. I was like, dude, what? Like, I was like, you're ridiculous anyways. And so he goes and takes a nap for a few hours. And I was like, I'm just going to go idle and just go find some good looking stuff. Cause I haven't found what I needed to. And I'd been down there before. So I had some brush marked from places in the past. I did spend one weekend down there a few months ago, just kind of idling around. Cause it's close to me. So, I kind of had a little bit of a head start there, but, for the most part, like once I found out, like I found like 7 or 8 good piles that they were in, I pretty much just went and ran. I was like, okay, I should be able to go catch like at least 12 or 13 pounds out of these piles. And then I'll just go practice and run all these other piles that I have marked. And I'll figure it out in the tournament. That was kind of my game plan. Other than that, like I was like, hopefully I can get a few top water bites in the morning. Regardless, I'm going to hit like 60 places in a day. Like I only need a few places on few casts on each spot. I want to know, I need to be able to see what's there on my active target and I'm going to try to like see what size is there and if there's any fish there. And if not, like I'm rolling out and I'm moving. And I ran some topwater places in the morning, and I caught one or two little ones. But there was really nothing that first day. And I ran down through one of the creeks, caught like 10 pounds real quick by like 8:30 or 9 o'clock. And then from that point on, I ran all new water, cold up to like 12 and change. It was a tough day that day. I caught almost all of them on the shaky head. And then the second day, I ran totally new water. I caught my limit off of a few of those places. Like I said, probably had like 9 pounds and like, I don't know, about 8:30. And then after that, ran all new water, new brush, the whole day. And I ended up with like 17 and a half, and they chewed. And the third day, I just ran like the best spots that I had between the 2 days. So the first 2 days I burned like 20 gallons first day, 20, like, cause you might be running 200 yards, 200 yards, 200 yards, 200 yards. So I ran like, I don't know, 20 gallons the first day, 20 gallons the second day. And the third day I burned 40 gallons. Yeah. Cause your stops become, rather than like 100 yards or 200 yards, you're running like, a couple miles. So it's like 2 miles, 2 miles.
Yeah.
2 miles. Yeah. So I was burning some gas. Ironically, I ran out of gas in a local tournament the week before. And dude, I have a 57 gallon tank. So it's not, but I didn't, the lakes over here, like it's not that big. I think it's like 14,000 acres. Falls Lake's my home lake. Like it's pretty small. And I saw on there like, oh, I have a quarter tank or whatever. So I like put another $100 in, like, and I ended up running out of gas. So I love to run and gun. I'm not fishing piles out there on falls. I like to run and gun. It's just how I like to fish. If they don't bite in a few casts, like I don't see a reason to stick around. Like I'm not patient enough, and it burns.
You're not gonna finesse one into the boat. You want to bite. You want the big dumb ones to bite first.
Yeah, and I mean it might be with a spinning rod, or it might be with something really fun, like But at the same time, like I'm gonna throw whatever they're biting, and I'm gonna hit as many fish in the face as I can.
I mean, that makes sense. I mean, it's such a timing thing. I guess if you're hitting a bunch of spots, the chances are you're going to pull up on one of those at the right time.
Dude, it's the Brian Thrift mentality.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really like who I tried to I love his style of fishing is who I basically feel like I've tried to mirror mine after. And sometimes it kills me. Don't get me wrong. But like there's days where you're better off sitting in the same spot the whole day. And tournaments get one like that all the time. I mean, Luis Fernandez won our tournament on Lake Eufaula in Oklahoma. I had a one brushpile last year. I was leading day one, and I ended up I never caught a limit the rest of the tournament. I fell to like 14th. So, you know what I mean? Like it kills you at times, and there's other times where it's good. But I'm too impatient. I'm too ADD. I can't sit in the same spot that long. So
it's hard to do. I've done that in a Wednesday nighter before.
Yeah.
Like, just caught them in a certain area and knew that the fish were going to pull up there eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And we got 4 hours, right? It's like a 5 to 9er.
Mm-hmm.
You sit out there, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You got 2 hours left. You see the shad start moving underneath the boat. And then you see the bass start moving underneath the boat.
Yep.
And that night they just stalled out. They never moved up on that island or that point, and we never caught them. They were in the area, but we needed them to move up.
But I feel like that's almost one of those situations where with your boat right there, they're not going to do it.
They're not. You're exactly right. We were there. We messed it all up. But if we would have left, somebody else would have got on that spot.
That's the problem. And that's what you'll run into, right? Is like, we'll have that same problem in our Tennessee River. Like we go to Pickwick next, and I guarantee you that'll be the same thing. It's like if you let a school rest for an hour or two, like the next person who pulls up is going to catch them. But if they don't get to rest, like you're just going to catch one here, one there, and it's just going to suck. Really.
What's that? That Tuesday, Wednesday pattern versus the Saturday pattern when they've been beat on every Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And they know that boat pressure's there, that traffic's there. They scatter immediately. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's like that anywhere. I feel like, yeah, if you find fish, you better stay on them. See, that's exactly right. That's the thing. I mean, that's how it is in a lot of tournaments. So I fished the Toyota series for like 2 years before the NPFL, and I sucked. Like, I'm telling you, I can't do well in a tournament where, like 250 boats, like those really big tournaments, and you got co-anglers and all that stuff. Like I really tend to struggle because I can't sit in the same spot. If you're able to move around and stuff, like if you go to a Tennessee River Lake when the fish are out, like, man, there's only like 40, 50 places the fish are going to get. You can't run around all day. Like, this next tournament could be really tough for me. I always tend to struggle in tournaments like that where there's that many boats. It's just not the way I fish. You know what I mean? But
so is that one of the reasons why you decided to fish the NPFL versus like the Opens or the Toyotas or the Invitationals?
Yeah, well, for one, so a couple reasons. So for me, okay, so coming out of school, like I graduated in 2016. I went to ECU and I did all the college fishing stuff. Absolutely loved it. Like that's what got me into this. That's what got me my job with Lowrance, with Navico. And I, got hired on and I moved to Florida for a few years, whatever. I don't think realistically, like I was working, I don't know. I don't think I could have taken off more than like 2 or 3 weeks at the time. Like I was, on the road so much and just slammed. It was just a little different. But, when I first started, to where I don't think I could have physically fished more than 2 or 3 tournaments. So it was already tough for me at the time to be able to fish 2 or 3. And I don't think that helped me in any way. But now, like, I was going to sign up for a division of the Opens or whatever, Toyotas 2 years ago. And Trent Palmer called me and was like, hey, you need to come fish the NPFL. And I was like, dude, I think it's hard enough already for me to get 3 tournaments, 3 weeks off for tournaments. Like, how am I going to take 6?
Yeah.
And he's like, look at the schedule. So it's spread apart really good. So like they spread apart the schedule. Like NPFL sets it up very well for a working man. Like in a situation where like we have February this year, and then we had our championship from last year. I guess that was in March. And then we had May, like here a week ago. Then we have like we have middle of July, then August, September, October. So it spreads out really good. My busiest season's in the spring, typically speaking. So me taking a tournament off like February, March, April, like all 3 months, like a Toyota series or Opens or whatever typically do. It's just like a very busy time in the marine industry. It's really hard to kind of do that. So I kind of just spreading out throughout the year makes it a lot easier to be able to take off and go do that. And it's also the other way I see it. Like I'm going to be honest, like I would love to go try to make the elites or whatever, but like, man, the Opens are like it's a total gauntlet. Like it's really, really tough. I'm not saying that. I mean, fishing at this level, like NPFL and everything. I mean, you got guys fishing the elites. You got Burge fishing from the Bass Pro Tour. You got whatever. It's the same. It's a good mix of people, regardless. And I love the idea of being able to compete at the highest level. Like I want to compete against those guys, but I also like want to work full time, if that makes sense. Like, having the consistent paycheck and being able to work, and like, I enjoy working in the marine industry. So it's kind of one of those deals where, I don't know, man.
You want some normalcy, you don't want to just be like a gypsy out on the road all the time.
Yeah. Well, I am anyways. I do a lot of traveling and stuff like that. But for me, it's just kind of one of those deals where, you having the ability to do both. NPFL makes it possible, and being able to kind of have be able to work and have like a reliable paycheck come in every single week. So, I mean, like, let's be real. Like, dude, if I don't win, I had a terrible finish at Logan Martin. For the most part, I've had a pretty solid career with the NPFL. I've had a really solid career with the NPFL, but outside of that, like in the past 2.5 years, but realistically, I mean, you could have 6 events straight where you don't cash a check. Like I'm not trying to worry about feeding my family, or like if I go to have kids like in the next year or whatever, like not being able to eat. Like I'm not playing that game.
Yeah, but even at that, you can have the best 6 tournaments of your life, not winning, but cashing checks in each one of them and still not be ahead.
So if you take like any sponsor stuff aside, like let's just talk like cash, like it's just like, hey, this is what you spend for entry fees and whatever else. So last year I got 6th in Angler of the Year. I spent $50,000 to fish is what it cost me to fish the NPFL after entry fees, travel, and all that other stuff. Like I was in 50 grand. Okay.
Gotcha.
I think I made 62 after NPFL and fishing local tournaments. So I won 62 and I spent 50. So I made $12,000.
Yeah, that's like poverty.
And that's not that's like, let me put it to you this way. Like that has nothing to do with NPFL. Like that's for the most part, just like professional fishing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So, and those guys, and let me say this, because I don't want anything to come off the wrong way. The NPFL is working really hard, and I've had conversations with several people in the ownership, and they're doing everything they can to build those sponsorships and try to make it where it's possible to try to do it full time. But I'm just going to tell you across the board between MLF, Bass Pro Tour, and Bassmaster and all that stuff, there's a whole lot of guys that are in that boat. So you almost have to have the sponsor money, and you got to have that stuff to be able to make it possible. That's just professional fishing. I mean, you're not the reality of it is that like YouTube and stuff like that, like you've got to be able to sell product. Like you're there to sell product. Nobody really cares. I mean, like catching fish is like, you have to be able to catch fish. Yes. But you got to be able to sell product. There's only a handful of people who could, like, I mean, you got like your Wheelers of the world, your Patrick Walters of the world, like you guys like that who, I mean, they're going to sell product by just winning every tournament. And then on top of it, they can also sell. So that helps. But, you know, it's that's all it is, man. This is a money deal, just like anything else. So, you know,
well, I think Matt Steffen said it very well. We've had him on a couple of times, but he said bass tournament fishing is just a marketing platform, and 100%. There's a lot of truth to that.
I was listening to it was Mercer earlier today, and it's like the anglers are characters in the saga, right? They're creating a character, whether it's, you know, Mike Corbishley or Gerald Swindle or Patrick Walters. There's a character there in the organization that they fish in, and they have to live up to that character.
Yeah.
I
don't know. I mean, I try to be myself as much as possible, right? Like, I don't want to be some TV personality or whatever else, but like, I don't know. I also try to have as much fun as possible. Like, dude, it's fun for me. Like, I have so much fun being on the water. Like, I love fishing. Like, being out there is a blast. Like, that's what I want to do. You know, that's all I think about all the time. So it's kind of one of those deals where it's a lot of fun. It should be a lot of fun. You know, like there's a lot of negativity on social media here and there. Like I try to ignore all that, just like have fun. It's a blast, man. Bass fishing's cool.
Yeah, it is. Bass fishing is dope. In the words of Brian Latimer. Yeah, I agree, man. It's you should wake up wanting it. I mean, I'm like that. JB's like that. I go fishing, have a sucky day, and be like, I'm selling all my stuff. And I wake up in the morning, I'm ready to go again. And it happens. Like you have a rough tournament on the drive home. You're soaking, like at the team tournament. You and your buddy are like, man, we should have did this and blah blah blah. And you're just like down in the dumps. You wake up. You jump a couple fish off, and you know there goes your check. And you wake up the next morning, your gut's just like wrenching, and you're just sulking for 2 days. But
that's when
you're ready to go, man. You're ready to go again.
That's when you get mad at them. You're like, I got to get back out there and figure it out. You know, like what did I miss? Like, how did those guys catch 20 pounds and I had 7? What happened?
Yeah, I remember like I think it was a regional on Pickwick. Yeah, I think it was on Pickwick, and man, I just struggled down there. And I got back, and like 2 days later, I went to Lake Gerardo, like a local lake. And it's a tough lake. It's got a few fish in it, but it's got a lot of small fish.
A good 5-fish limit there is like 7.5 pounds.
Yeah, it's got a lot of just pound and a halfers in it.
It's pretty good.
But I got out on this point with the Carolina rig, man, and I caught like a 5-pounder, and it felt so good. It just instilled all my confidence. I was like, I can still catch a fish. Might have to go to a little small lake to do it, but I can still catch them.
Yeah.
Fishing's like that though, man. It's like
it is.
It's mental. It's so mental. You hear people say it all the time. It's like however much percent mental, and there's so much truth to that.
Yeah, dude, I would say it's like 90% mental.
Yeah, I agree.
And especially for the guys out there like us that are addicted to the tournament aspect of it. Like, because you got the guy that goes and sits on the bank, and sometimes he can care less if he's catching a fish. He's just out there enjoying the peace and quiet. But then there's guys out there like us three that live for that competitive edge, right? Like you're looking for the next best. So
yeah, 100%. I want to know what Stephanie's opinion is on forward facing sonar. I got distracted by the comments.
Yeah. I just kind of flipped up there as a way to say.
I don't know. It depends on what it is.
Because I have deep forward facing sonar conversations in here for sure, and she's opposed to it for sure.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah. I mean, I say that's
just
fair.
because of the, it kind of takes the magic out of it. It's easy. It makes and.
I don't know, man. I can tell you, I threw out about 1,000 fish, and I caught like 10 fish on the last day of that tournament. So easy would be a stretch. I've spent a lot of time looking at it. A lot of time looking at it, and a lot of time trying to learn. And there's a lot of days where I have not caught them. I mean, for the most part, it's good to be around them, whatever else. Man, I grew up fishing 1 foot of water, flipping bushes, fishing water willow with a frog and a swim jig and the fun stuff. And that's what I would rather do. I would rather turn my graphs off and go fish in the dirt where my trolling motor is so shallow that I need a block of wood under it. The reality of it is the fish don't live there all year long. So you got to move somewhere else, and I can go catch them I like being able to go graph them. I grew up in the college era of 2012 to 2016 when we were in college. We had half of our tournaments on the Tennessee River where pretty much you spent a ton of time idling and finding schools. That's changed. They were in schools. You could throw out there and catch them. That's changed. A lot of times now they scatter out. A lot of stuff, you almost have to fish for individual fish. Things have just changed. And it's they still get in schools and you can still catch them, but now you're only throwing it and you're catching 1 fish or 2 fish. And I mean, I just don't remember the last time I ever pulled up on a school of fish in the summertime like I did before and catch more than 3 or 4. It's just not like that where you used to be able to go catch 50, 60 in a day on Tennessee River Ledge or whatever else. And I think that forward facing sonar is going to be the exact same way. I think that it's gotten to a point where we've gotten so much stuff, and I'm giving you all these opinions without even asking for them.
No, it's great, man. It's great. I'm listening. I like it.
But I think that, everybody's got this stuff now. And I say everybody, I mean, there's a good on a Saturday tournament that, most of these people have an active target or a live scope transducer on their boat. A bunch of them do anyways. And, that doesn't mean everybody knows how to read it well, but that means that a lot of people have the technology and the fish get used to this type of stuff and the fish get smarter. And that's why I think stuff like the whole jig head minnow craze is coming across it's working because you basically just got to, I think they'll get used to that. I think they'll get used to the jig head minnow deal. I think that'll be done in a year. It's just going to be whatever the hottest thing is. Fish adapt. It's going to change. We'll have to fish for them further out. We won't catch as many. They're setting up in different places. That's the reason you see these tournaments where guys are catching them in the middle of creeks and random stuff like that, where nobody ever used to fish before. I think the fish are just getting pushed. I think the fish are getting pushed in places that they've never been, and they're smart, man. I mean, we practice catch and release. All we do is preach catch and release in bass fishing. And the reality of it is that's part of their genetics. When these fish spawn and have fry and babies and everything, those fish, like it's passed on in their genetics. They get smarter. Like that's been shown in studies. And I think that the more that technology evolves, I don't think anything's slowing down anytime soon. Technology is going to keep evolving. The fish are going to keep getting smarter, and it's just a matter of staying with them, really.
You fished college in the A-rig era. I mean,
and the mag spoon era.
Yeah.
When that first came out, you should have seen how like Randall Morris and Dalton from Bethel, they were the only ones at Pickwick in 2015 with a mag spoon. Dude, the fish had never seen that big chunk of metal come across the school before. They wrecked everybody. They hardly eat the thing anymore.
So what happens now when you throw it at them? They scatter.
Yeah, that's like a hair jig. It's hard to catch on a hair jig now, and that's a natural thing. It's not like loud and
not at all. They just follow it, dude. That's all it is.
They're getting smart. I mean, I've said that.
I'm not saying that, like I get it. I see both sides of the argument, but I think it's a tool. I think forward-facing sonar is a tool, and I think that there are times when you better be good with it, and there's times where you better be good with turning it off.
Yeah, so
if you use it, you don't block it unless you see a fish. That's funny.
Yeah, but how many fish?
I mean, I use it and I throw all the time without seeing a fish, but I see what you're saying.
You fished piles all week, right?
I did.
Yeah, and
for the most part.
Did you use it to see fish in the pile or to see the pile and make a good cast at the pile?
Both. So the first day, they were glued to the bottom. And the better ones were glued to the bottom, so you couldn't actually see the fish in it. They're glued so tight to the bottom, and I had to dead stick shaky head. So you throw it out there, and this is a Scott Canterbury shaky head right here, made by Dirty Jigs, with a Senko on it. And I was literally throwing it out there, and cast it out, and you sit there. Open the bail.
Got you on full screen now.
And you look around. If I smoked cigarettes, it would be a great time to smoke a cigarette. Like whatever. But you just basically sit there until one picked it up and shake it in place or whatever. I mean, like that was pretty much the deal. Like you just didn't really have to do that much. But that's all they would do. And then all of a sudden, when you threw it out there, you could kind of see them lift off the bottom. When I threw it out there, I wanted to see them kind of lift or see something happen, but they were glued to the bottom. That second day that the storms rolled in, they were in the top of the piles. They got up in the top of them, and it was much different. And I think that's why a lot of people struggled on the first day and struggled on struggled on the second day. And vice versa. I think that some people were catching them in the bottoms and some people were catching them in the top of the piles, and figuring out that balance was how you were going to take it home.
That right there, what you just said is one of the advantages of forward facing sonar is just finding out those little details like that. Are they on the bottom or are they on the top of the brush pile?
It is 100% an advantage. I'm not gonna act like it's not. Like it is an advantage, and if that bites happen, like I said, you better be on it, but you also better be okay with, looking up for when they're if they're spawning, like you're going to get your ass kicked if you're not up there looking for spawners.
Right.
But either way, yeah, I mean, I was definitely looking at it. Don't get me wrong. I was staring at it. Yeah. I did not take my eyes off of it. But again, I was making 60 stops in a day. So I'm pulling up, I'm looking. I make a cast. If I didn't see what I want to see, I mean, after the first cast, I'm gone. I don't need to throw anymore. I mean, trying to use it as efficient as possible.
What's your opinion on this? Jacob says he fished a tournament and could tell the bass were running from forward-facing sonar when he got about 50 feet from the bush pile. Do you think it's the pinging of the transducer? Sure. Do you think it's the pressure, or what's your take on that?
All the above. Yeah, absolutely. They'll definitely run from it. I have seen that for sure, for certain. If you find a brand new school of fish that hasn't been messed with, whether it's a brush pile, rock pile, doesn't matter. If there's a group of fish, they might not be as weary of you. You might be able to catch them pretty good the first time, but like if it's on a community hole type place, Like I noticed that, like on Hartwell, for example, like man, those fish, like if you're throwing anything you're throwing, if you got within like 20 feet of the boat and you're watching the fish follow your bait, they stop like 20 feet. Like there's the water, there's not 20-foot visibility.
Yeah.
But they would stop 20 feet from the boat. Like, and just kind of like cruise down under the surface or whatever else. I think, and that's just from the boat. Now, from the forward-facing sonar, if I'm sitting there staring at a pile, like my active target 2 is looking at a brush pile and there's fish in it, and I have to sit down and retie, like I'm pointing it away. I'm not pointing it at that pile. I'm going to back up. I might anchor lock on my ghost trolling motor, like just off of the pile or further off, or I might just point it another direction. But like if you keep it pointed at that pile, like they're going to feel that pinging. I mean, I say that like I don't really know the acoustics behind all that. I just know that I have definitely seen the behavior change or fish kind of float up or down based on your transducer being there. So
yeah,
I think that's across the board with all brands and stuff. I think fish are pretty smart. Like it's just a matter of the more they get pressure, especially on a lake like that, man. That like Hartwell gets Murray, like anything like that. They get 200-300 boat tournaments every weekend, so they get smart. And that's another reason I did the whole run and gun deal, because I think that you could tell if they've been fished for. If you throw out there and they don't react at all to your bait, or they just like lift real slow, they're like, it's like, nah, you've seen enough baits. But
yeah, or they'll do this, like what was happening to me the other day was here the fish is right here.
Yeah.
And here comes my minnow.
And
they go like this. They go all the way down to the bottom. And then when your minnow goes by,
yeah,
they go back up and sit to where they want. They just move out of the way. I saw that happen like 100 times. And I'm like, so what? I don't think in that situation, I don't feel like it was the transducer pinging or the boat. I think, or maybe they associated that little minnow with the boat and the transducer pinging. It made them get out of the way. But that bait was the final trigger that made them actually move.
Yeah.
And you know, because I'm like 70 foot away,
and that's a finessey bait too. It's not like it's intrusive.
Sure.
No, and I'm not dropping it on their head. I'm casting about 80. I got LVS 32. So about 70 is where I can start. Really, I can see it good at like 60, 65, but I'll still cast like 80. I have it set out to 80. I'll cast off my graph and just kind of count it down and have a pretty good idea of where it's going to come into the screen. So I'm casting, and I'm not blooping it up there. You know, it's not splash. It's not a whopper plopper. Or
right.
You know, it's a little nice subtle thing that's going into the water. So it's coming in on them, and they're still like getting out of the way.
Have you dropped that Chad down on that same fish?
I threw a burrito, like a buca burrito, and they got the heck out of Dodge.
Really?
They took off. It scared them.
So I've thrown some of those big gliders and you know, weighted them down and counted them down and watch them come down. And the amount of fish, like if you're fishing piles or something, the amount of fish that come up out of there that you had no idea that were there, they may never come in.
They might not bite it, but they'll look at it.
They'll come up and they'll expose themselves for sure. So,
yeah.
But and when one does crush it, a lot of times they don't get it because they're just hitting it on the side, and then you just see them tail off.
Yeah, I've had that
into the depths. So
it definitely shortens the learning curve.
Very accurate. Shout out Big Al.
What's up, Big Al?
Forward facing sonar, new sight fishing. That's accurate. I do agree with that. I mean, I just think, and that's the thing, man. Like, I don't know. We can go off on tangents about this stuff forever, but I really don't think that it's as it's not the devil. I mean, it's not that bad. It's actually a lot of fun. And I think there's a lot of kids getting into fishing because of it. I do think that a lot of, like, I mean, yeah, you're looking at a screen, but I do think it's a good way to get kids outdoors. Everybody I've ever seen, like, kids looking at it, they pick it up real quick. They seem to really like it. And what gets kids off the couch and stuff like that, then I'm all about it.
Yeah. Do you think it's kind of been a topic on the socials about live scope or active target being the same as sight fishing? And then there's been, I know in the first NPFL, Logan Martin, I think there was a couple fish that Brock might have, you know, hooked on the outside of the mouth with a jerk bait. Or it's not just that tournament; it happens pretty consistently. And saying that they're actually snagging the fish, they're targeting the fish, and I mean, I've heard a lot of the best forward-facing sonar guys say that it's pretty dang hard to, consistently snag a fish with a jerkbait or something on a live scope. What's your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, so I just got an eyelash in my eye. That's why I'm sitting here crying.
Yeah.
I think it's really hard to do that. Okay, so here's the thing. So you got it. So we have the tightest cone on the market with the active target 2. It's 20 degrees, or it might be.
Oh, I know. It's hard for me to go from my live scope and throw with somebody that has active target. I miss it. It shows me how bad I suck at casting because I can't even hardly get it in the active target cone. But I like that because when it's in the cone, you're a lot closer to the fish.
Yeah. So I think 20 degrees at 60 feet. I'm just going to look this up real quick because I don't want to say the wrong thing. 20 degrees and the length at 60 feet is, I have no idea.
Is that a tornado siren at your house or what?
Ambulance. I
Gotcha.
have no idea. Anyways, it's pretty wide. It's pretty wide. I don't want to say the wrong number here, but if somebody does the math for me, it's pretty wide, that cone angle, still at 60. I mean, you can rip a spoon through a school of fish and you can watch all the fish react to it. I caught a few on a spoon at Hartwell, and I'm ripping it, and you would think you would snag them by accident, and they come bite it and they get it in the mouth. I mean, it's the whole. Now let me say this before I go off on that deal. Okay, if you're catching fish, when fish are on a bed. That's my thought. If you are good enough to catch them on forward-facing sonar, then you should know when a fish is on a bed. Like if you're looking at them, you should be able to tell by their behavior and the time of year and know what they're doing. I think that especially if you're using scout mode on Lowrance, for example, or perspective on Garmin, if you have your transducer turned sideways and you can tell what a bed looks like, you can see the fish swimming around in circles, especially with smallmouth. I think if you know consciously the fish is on a bed, I think that is cheating if you snag that fish. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty certain that the fish were not spawning when we were at Logan Martin, and I have caught God knows how many fish on a jerkbait outside the mouth prior to forward-facing sonar.
Same.
It's just the way that bite is. I don't think Brock Bila was doing anything like that. Like, I don't think any of the guys over there were snagging fish. It is dang near impossible to do it. If you don't believe me, pull up on a school of 100 fish offshore on a ledge and throw a crankbait and reel it as fast as you can through it and see what happens. You ain't going to hook one.
Right.
I mean, like, they're going to bite it or they're not.
So what's the cone angle on the Lowrance active target?
18.
Yeah, it's like 18 to 20.
So at 60 feet, this is just a chart.
Yeah.
A 16 degree at 60 feet.
It's not 16, but yeah, it's bigger or it's tighter.
But that's 16 foot 10 inches.
Yeah,
at a 16 degree
at 60 feet.
At 60 feet, 16 feet wide.
Yeah, 16 feet wide.
So how would you?
That's just about as long as from where you're standing to the transom of your boat.
Yeah,
and you're going to snag a fish in that at 60 feet.
I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm just saying you're going to work real hard to do it.
You'll miss more than you're going to hit.
A lot more.
Yeah, I think you nailed it when you're talking about that's just that kind of goes hand in hand with that style of bait because they swat at it, they come up to it, they turn away at the last minute. A lot of times they'll nose punch it to try to kill it.
Yes,
they're doing a lot of things besides opening their mouth and sucking it in, and it's still a fish reacting to that bait and trying to eat it in one way or another. So I don't know. I'm with you on that. I do agree that if you know what you're looking at, it's been common around here, like Kentucky Lake. A lot of these smallmouth spawn around these stumps, and these people are they've got perspective mode. They figured out how to target them. Like you said, they're kind of staying in one little area and they're working, and it's obvious that they are on beds.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's an interesting topic. Do you think they should have like while we're talking about this, you think they should have like perimeters and like on the electronics? Because I know there's, you know, in bass they're probably going to be doing something next year with electronics.
I have mixed feelings about it. Man, I'm biased. Obviously, I work for Lorenzo.
Right.
I'm probably the wrong person to ask there. Realistically, if I were to remove work, Mike, put that aside and say, I think that from a safety, even just me from a work standpoint, I think from a safety standpoint, we should be conscious of making sure you have good visibility running down the lake.
Yeah.
I think that that's important. I think that safety is a big deal. I mean, I don't think anybody wants to get hurt out there. Do you get that many boats and run in different directions? Like, it's not good. So I think safety is an important situation. I think that if you're putting like 2 16s and a 22 on the bow, like, I don't know how you're seeing over it personally. But outside of that, like, I don't know. I've been on some boats where I've seen 3 16s mounted up there comfortably, and you can see over. It just depends on the way the boat's set up. You know what I mean? The mounts and everything that you're running. So I think that maybe a height restriction, or something along those lines wouldn't be bad. Do I think a number of graph restriction or transducer? I don't think it'll make a difference at the end of the day, other than in the results. I just think that it'll make a difference in. I think it'll make a difference, like, as far as like maybe people getting into the sport feeling like they need that many graphs, but I don't think it makes that much of a difference. I think the same people are going to catch them. I think they're going to come up with ways to figure out if you like, if like, let's say it was limited to 2 transducers or active target transducers, like, guys are going to have one run in the front and they're going to have one run in the back, and then, or whatever, and they'll move it around. Like, I don't think that you can really come up with a whole lot of restrictions that'll change the way that the fishing is. And I don't know.
There's only so much that you can, the mind can process, though.
Yeah.
When you put 4 screens up front, like, how much can you actually process of those 4 screens?
Are you asking me?
I know. I struggle with the 2 that I have up front.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly.
Because I have my forward facing on one, and I have maps and 2D sonar on the other, and I hardly ever look at maps unless I'm looking for a spot. And 2D sonar is like, oh, they're under the boat. I haven't looked under the boat in a year and a half. I'm looking out there. I don't need to look under the boat anymore.
So I mean, like, and I mentioned last night on a podcast, and I don't know him, but I like listening to him, and I've learned a lot watching him. But Drew Gill is a good example of somebody who, like, he has 1 transducer on his boat. Okay. If you don't know, people like Drew Gill is like bass fishing phenom, like younger guy coming into the sport, like wrecking everybody on forward facing sonar, like, plain and simple. Like, he was fishing, he got second to Zach Burge at Eufaula, and he's fishing docks, like, in 4 foot of water with it, like, wild. Like, I was learning pretty cool stuff. I mean, it's just like, it would hurt me to try to fish like that. And I say that in the sense of, like, if I tried to stare at it in 4 foot of water, I'm going to lose the tournament. Like, I'm better off just fishing off of what I know when they're shallow like that. When they're out, it's a different story, but it just depends on who you are. But
he's 21
and 1 transducer.
Yeah, but he's got 1 transducer, man.
He's 21, and that's how he knows that's how he spent his last 5 years of fishing, is
for sure
with that transducer pointing at fish.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep. And if that's what you're best at, that's what you're best at. I think that I think it's like a technique. I do think it's very much a technique in fishing. Very much like your John Coxes of the world are good at bed fishing and shallow water fishing, stuff like that. And your Fletcher Shryoks are good at punching or whatever. And I mean, these guys, let's be real, all these people can do just about everything. Mm-hmm. But just as far as what people are known for, you know what I mean? Like, KVD is known for his moving bait, jerk bait situation. Like, it's what you're known for, but you better be good at all of it. But I think that it's kind of like a technique situation. Like, you got to, like, there's people who are much better at it than others, and right now it's kind of showcasing itself.
What do you talk about? Like John Cox is really good at bed fishing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Probably one of the better anglers at that. But how often do you get to bed fish? If you're lucky and you're traveling the country, maybe a couple months out of the year.
I would be willing to bet that guys like him, Drew Cook, Drew Benton, those guys, they're bed fishing for, out of 9 Elite Series events, probably 3 of them, 4 of them.
Right. And the guys that are really good at forward facing sonar, it's 9 out of 9, right? Like,
I guess. I mean,
what I'm saying is they can do that all year long. You could
if you're good with it shallow. You're right.
Well, you can learn it all year long too.
Yeah.
You're not just looking at bed fish because you only have 3 months out of the year across the nation to bed fish. You can do that all year long from 50 foot to 2 foot. And that's
yeah, I guess in theory, yeah, you can for sure. You definitely can and we're learning a lot. Like forward facing sonar is one of those deals where it's like I think we're all still learning with it for sure. Like I have been around it with the company forever, it feels like I've known about it forever, but like it's one of those deals where yeah, I think we're all still really learning what the capabilities are. And I think that it's important that we kind of let some of this play out and see how it goes before anybody puts any too many restrictions in and stuff like that. Because let's be real. Have either of y'all thrown an Alabama rig the past few years?
I have. Yeah, I throw it quite a bit, like late fall and winter.
But I mean, it's not like it was 5 years ago, right?
No, you got to work on them a little bit.
Yeah,
but there are times when
now it's forward facing sonar, it's crazy. Like I don't think that we should be allowed to throw an Alabama rig in the NPFL, but do I think we should be allowed to have forward facing sonar? 100%, because everybody in the field's got the same stuff. So I just think it's one of those deals where if you're not good with it, you should learn it and get better with it. As far as at our level goes, at NPFL and Bassmaster and stuff like that, and if it's limited to 1 or 2 transducers, it wouldn't bother me at the end of the day, but I don't think it makes that much of a difference.
I don't think you taking it down to, even if you took it down to 2 graphs and 1 transducer on a forward facing transducer or forward shooting transducer, you're not gonna see a big change in the leaderboard, right?
That's what I mean by that. Yeah, and there's definitely people who are up there or who will get a top 10 who would not have. Like, don't take that the wrong way, but there's definitely people who are making a career out of it. But I think that there's only a select handful. I don't think that it's I think those people understand fish behavior very well.
And a lot of it is because of forward facing sonar.
Because of staring at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of good fishermen that are better because of it, and there's a lot of subpar fishermen that are okay because of it. But those good fishermen that are better, there's still good fishermen with or without. Here, let's switch up just slightly.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Jay said any new technology coming out. I saw the Game Boy shaped graph on some of the pros boats, and he said it was called the Hawgz brand electronics. And then Darius says, when is Lowrance coming out with a new forward facing sonar?
I don't think I can answer either of those questions.
Hey, it was worth a try. I thought it slipped.
Wait, Hawgz. I don't know if I've seen that.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a new one. That's a new one to me.
Hawgz. Oh, look at that. That's funny. Yeah.
Or when is it going wireless?
When is it going wireless? Oh. I don't know. I can't answer any of these questions. I mean, we actually used to have we had, you know, it's funny. We actually sold the Elite TI2s. It was our mid-range product with that for a few years. And we had wireless networking, and nobody really cared. So we went back to wired when it came to Elite FS. So I don't really know if that, it wasn't really a selling point, man, because people want to spend less money, and that some of that technology is more expensive. So it's already expensive. It's not cheap, you know.
I'm gonna throw this up. We're not even gonna touch on that.
Has anyone seen Patrick Welcher? Yeah.
Really?
So Aaron, so I'll speak to Patrick because he's one of my good buddies. So Patrick won in college. He won a tournament on Lake Murray, a college championship on Lake Murray against a bunch of the people who you see fish the elites and FLW now or MLF now. He also won a open on the Red River without it. He qualified for the elites without it. I mean, the dude grew up fishing Santee Cooper, fishing cypress trees in 1 foot of water. So does he stare at it all the time? I'll be honest. Every time I see him on live, he's glued to his screens. That's probably one thing I've picked up from him is try to look at mine more. But yeah, man, he can catch fish without it. I promise you that. He can catch them. He just catches fish, plain and simple.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Darius kind of said it there, but I'm not even gonna throw it up there. We're gonna move on from.
Yeah, let's go. Let's spin the last part of this.
All your viewers are gonna hate me because I'm like all pro forward facing sonar, everything. You know, it just depends on which podcast you're on or whatever. But no, I work for Lawrence. I'm not gonna say anything bad about it.
Yeah, I would say most. I went out and most.
I try to be pretty even about it.
We're 50-50, but
yeah.
we also use it too, right? Like I understand if you've never put yourself behind one, I challenge everyone to put yourself behind it and understand that it's a technique. It is not a end all be all. You're going to go out and catch them. Yes, it does give you an advantage to the person that doesn't have it if you're fishing out in 30 foot of water. But if I'm up there flipping grass, it doesn't give me an advantage.
No,
I'm still going to go up there and I'll flip grass and I'm going to turn my graph off.
Unless you're Drew Gill, then it gives you an advantage.
But I'm not that guy yet. So don't plan on being that dialed with it. So
yeah.
I would rather, I'm just like what you said, Mike, earlier about my favorite way to catch fish is just to go throw a frog or throw a spinnerbait down a bank, a swim jig, a jig, whatever, and then just go fishing without even looking at the electronics. But
100%,
that's not always going on.
That's what I'm saying. It just changes everywhere you go. It changes. It depends on the lake. I mean, we used to be able to catch fish on 2D sonar sitting right over the top of them. You can't anymore. I mean, things aren't going to slow down. They're not. It's not going to get banned across the country. Nothing's going to change. I mean, that's just the reality of it. So I get it. If you don't like it, you don't have to use it. You can use it at times. You can turn it off. I mean, trust me, man. Like I'll go fishing. I'm telling you, in 6 inches of water, and it's some of the most fun days I've ever had in my life. Mapping's underrated. Staring at your map, using that. Figuring out patterns based on what the fish are doing from that without using your sonar. Like there's a whole lot you can use electronics for without, you don't necessarily have to be staring at active target or live scope. It's the fish are smart. They're getting smarter. And I think that's just the reality of what's going on.
So let's get back to the tournament. So
please,
practice went okay, right?
Yeah.
At best, it went okay. Day one.
Day one, I had 12 pounds. I caught like 30 fish, but I just had all two and change. Like the biggest one I had was a 3-pounder. They were all just like cookie cutters,
You sitting top of the pack day one, middle of the pack?
No, I was in 13th, which is good, respectable. I'm like, hey, I'm here. I can sneak out of this event with a top 10 because that's what I really needed. I felt like because I had such a bad event at Logan, and the past few years it seems like I've had like 100th place finish a year. Like I have like one just absolute bomb. So I'm hoping that was Logan for me. I was like, I got to kind of come back, make sure I make the championship, and that's so. Anyways, going into day two. Like I said, I went and ran new water and I ended up catching a pile of them again, like probably 20 or 30. And I had like 17 and a half. And that was the biggest bag of the tournament. But yeah, day three was slow, man. It was slow day three. It was just a matter of getting the right bites. And I thought I blew it because I legit had that 5-pound bite 20 minutes before chicken. But
so you wasn't Welcher leading after day two, or he was right there, wasn't he?
So Welcher, was he leading? No, Will Harkins was leading day 1. Day 2, was it Kyle Welcher? No, I was leading day 2.
Were you? Okay.
Yeah, I was leading day 2. Welcher was up there, like, I think he stayed in like top 5 the whole tournament though.
And then Trent was up there one of those days, wasn't he?
Yeah, he kind of like slowly snuck up and stayed in the top 10. I think he ended up getting 6th. But it was a pretty stacked top 10, man. I was looking at it and I was like, dude, I'm just an average guy who, like, I work and fish. Like, that's what I do. I mean, I'm not anybody special. I like to compete with people. I love to talk crap with people, like having fun. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm not some celebrity by any means. And so to me, it's just like getting to compete with these guys who I grew up looking up to and whatever is kind of special to me. And that's one of the cool things I really like about the NPFL. But I was kind of took a step back and was looking at some of the top 10s, like top 10 from day 2. It was like, me, John Cox, Kyle Welcher, like, who else was up there? I don't know. We were just talking about those two. So ironically, here we are. But I mean, it's just like all these guys. Buddy Gross was in there, and then in our field, we also got, Drew Cook, we got Patrick, we got just a whole bunch of dudes who, I mean, they'll straight up just take your money. So it's so much
killers.
Yeah, it's cool to fish against them. But
yeah, I'm kind of looking. Yeah, Drew Cook was up there, John Cox,
Trent Palmer,
P-Dub, 11.
Who else do we have in that field this year? I know I'm forgetting a lot of really good fishermen, but I mean, it's a stacked field. There's no doubt. And there's a lot of people in there who you might not know about, but like they've been around. And I don't know. Jason Burrows, he's one of the best locals over there. Justin Kimmel, the same story. David Williams is like dominated, like won Bassmaster and a Toyota Series AOI is like dominates them. Zach Burge just won the MLF event. Anyways, there's a whole bunch of legends in that group, and it's just really cool to kind of be up there. Tommy Biffle's fishing with the NPFL this year.
I love it, man. David Fritz is in there.
David Fritz is, yeah.
Logan
too. He was Fritz siding him up, son. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's cool, man. It's cool to it's got to be cool to just be floating around out there and look over and there's David Fritz, like right next to you. It's I don't know, that's pretty cool.
He's still got flashers on his boat too.
Nice.
Talking about electronics, he's like, yeah, I don't know. It's really cool, man. There's some of my heroes out there for sure.
Yeah. What's your favorite Bahio sunglass lens?
I like the Toads. I don't know where. Usually got them sitting around me somewhere. Yeah, the Toad lenses. I got kind of a big head, so I had the Bales Beach. They were a little tight. I got a pretty serious sunglass tan from those, so I went to the Toads, a little bit looser fit.
Yeah,
it's my deal for sure.
What lens color do you like?
I like the green ones. Green mirror, I think it's called.
Okay.
And then I go to a oh my gosh, which is the one I bedfish with?
Is it Rose?
I like the Rose. Yeah, I do like the Rose. There's another one. It's like a darker. It's like more of like a silver. Let's see. I like the pink ones. Well, the silver mirror, I want to say that's the
like a copper base
color. There it is. Silver mirror. Nah, copper is the one I use for bed fishing.
Bed fishing? Okay.
Copper or the pink ones, the rose mirror. One of those. It's crazy like how much the lights, when lighting changes, how much a lens can make a difference. So I usually keep 2 or 3 pairs in the boat.
Yeah, I have the nippers because I got a real kind of skinny head, so the nippers fit me good. And then I have the rose and then the violet. For cloudy days. Those are really nice.
Yeah.
Really nice for cloudy days. They're like a happy lens. They make that dark day happy. And then I've also got I think I got it's like a more of a brown lens, I think. I don't know. My wife stole them from me, so I've only worn them like twice. But
Yeah,
I can't even, I know they're not rose and I know they're not violet. There was something, they were like the third lightest lens color because I was kind of stepping up a little bit. And she wore them one day. We were going to a winery or something. And I was like, try these new Bahios that I got. And put them on, and the contrast was like everything was just like HD. And that was the last I saw of them. She basically just kidnapped them from me, and I haven't got them back.
Great. Yeah, I'm sure my wife's got a pair somewhere around here. But yeah, it's funny, man. Sunglasses are underrated. You gotta take the nippers of that good tea. That's funny. I mean, that's another one of those pieces of equipment you gotta have. You know, I mean, it depends on lighting conditions and everything like that. And that can make a difference in catching a 5-pounder and not.
It can keep a hook out of your eye too. I was fishing a couple of weeks ago, and I was throwing a topwater, and I caught a small fish, like a 13-inch fish or something. And I got him up by the boat, and I swung him up, and I was going to grab my line. And right as I grabbed this could have went bad like a lot of different ways, but right as I went to grab my line, the fish jumped, and it was like shooting a bow, man. The arrow was locked and cocked, and that chug bug, it was a chug bug. It flew up and hit my sunglasses, hit my hat, and I felt a little on my cheek. And if I wouldn't have had those sunglasses on, I would have got a hook in my eye. There's no doubt about it. I even told my dog. We got the same dog's name too. My dog's name is Finley. I saw that in your bio. But I looked at Finley. I looked at Finley, and I'm like, we just about ruined our whole fishing day by that. Those glasses saved my butt, and I don't know why we do that. Because if it were
my dog, Finley?
Yeah, my dog's name is Finley.
Your dog's name's Finley?
Yeah.
My dog's name's Finley.
That's what I was saying. I was doing a little bit of research, but I think your dog's bigger than mine. My dog's like 13 pounds.
Come here. She's laying down on the ground right next to me here. I gotta pick her up. Hold on. We gotta make a celebrity appearance. She's like, I'm sleeping, Dad.
We're gonna go full screen for this. Oh yeah, your dog's definitely bigger than my dog.
Bigger than your dog.
Look at that sweet girl.
Look at that. Look at you live on YouTube.
Coming to you live.
Is that a hunting dog?
Yeah, she's a stone cold killer. Don't let her fool you.
How old is she?
4 years old. She's actually a British lab out of I got her out of South Carolina. Breed her down there anyway. She's incredible. Sorry, girl. I didn't mean to wake you up. She's like looking at me like, what are you doing?
What just happened?
That one right there.
But yeah, we love to duck hunt. She comes fishing with me all the time, man. That dog has won so many tournaments.
Happy birthday, Tom, by the way. Belated, I believe.
Happy birthday.
I just saw that it was his birthday a couple days ago. There was one on here.
Man, dogs are awesome.
Oh yeah, she's my best friend, man. She comes, other than my wife, of course. She comes with me everywhere, though.
Good save.
She comes fishing with me all the time, though.
Yeah, same thing. Except for my dog doesn't do well. Your dog's probably the same way. Like when it's hot outside, being black, my dog is black too. The sun just kills her. So.
She was pissed. Yeah, I know. I try to keep her wet. Like I'll just like I'll bring a bumper and throw it out there and let her jump in every 20 minutes or so. You know.
That's what I need to do.
Well, she probably doesn't stay out of the water much, does she?
She does. So funny story. Like when she was a puppy, I got on a shad spawn bite. Like ironically said, I don't ever get on those bites. I'm on a shad spawn bite, and she was like, maybe 8 weeks old, 12 weeks old. She had only been swimming on the shore, like gotten her feet wet, nothing else, and I have a 6-pounder on a spinnerbait, like 10 feet from the boat, and it's driving her crazy. Like she's like paws on the gunnel, like getting closer and closer and closer. And like, thank God I have a boat wrap now, because like my boat got scratched all over before with it. But she's like, so she's just like getting super antsy every single time the fish is jumping and getting closer and closer to the boat. And I'm reaching down trying to grab it. Well, she just got couldn't take it anymore. Jumps in full dive after this fish. Like dove right in after the 6-pounders, like swimming in the water with like a spinnerbait flop around its mouth. I'm like trying to keep the dog from getting hooked, and That's the only time she's ever jumped in after one. That's when she was a puppy. And one time she fell off when she was just like, we're just fishing down the bank. And so she's kind of learned where she can and can't stand on the boat. And then one time we were fishing a Thursday nighter locally, and she stepped on a crankbait on a 6XD, and that wasn't good.
Oh yeah.
We already had a pretty good bag at the time, but we were throwing a frog around, and I was like, all right, I think we got to stop. Like, I think we got to, she's yelping, like, attached to this crankbait. And so I'm sitting there, and we were going to do the braid trick. And luckily it just we didn't have to do it. And it just pulled right out. And now she does, knock on wood, she's probably fished me 100 times. She's not stepped on anything. She hasn't fallen in the water. Like, she's just got it dialed, but she's on the water. She's,
my dog's almost done that a couple times. Well, she did get a crankbait. She was, I set the hook. This is over at King K. This is about 4 years ago. And probably 5 years ago. She was still a little pup, but she was sitting kind of up on the front deck with me. Yeah. And I'm flipping a jig down this kind of rocky bank.
Yeah.
And I set on one. It's a good fish. It comes up and jumps. And she looks up because she was just kind of soaking up the sun. She wasn't really paying too much attention. And she looked up, she got startled, and then she stepped back, and the crankbait. No, the crankbait grabbed her fur, and she freaked out, and she shot off the front deck into the bottom of the boat, and my rod goes, and it flexed, the tip flexed, and it bounced back, and it pulled out of her fur. It was just in her fur.
Oh no!
And there's been a couple times where I have a jerk bait up on the deck, and she's a little bit too close to that jerk bait with those sticky hooks, and I'm like,
that's where it gets scary. You start talking about jerk baits. That's a different story.
Yes.
She was actually going to practice with me for Hartwell, but I knew I was going to have 10 treble hook baits on the deck, so I was like,
Yeah, exactly. And I saw a comment there about is Finley still undefeated against stumps? She's still undefeated against stumps. She's got a thing for any kind of, if there's a turtle, a lay down, or a stump in the water, she will get up on the front deck and start.
Oh, really? What about sailboats?
I don't know. We don't see a lot of those around here.
See, that's her arch rival. My family.
Oh, really?
Arch rival. Oh yeah. She sees a sailboat, it's over. She's freaking out. She's full out barking with it. Like a sailboat mooring. Like, we don't see those very much around here. Like, if I take her a place and we're on a boat where there's a sailboat, she hates it. She does not like sailboats. No. No. Stumps, lay down, that's fine. Sailboats, no, sir.
Maybe in her past life she was lost out at sea and sailboat wreck or something. There's got to be something in the genetics.
Yeah, buoys and sailboats. She just can't. She does not like it.
Hey, let's. I just want to ask you a couple more questions, and then we'll wrap this sucker up. It's been a good stream.
Appreciate it.
Just the title was about Brushpile, so let's touch a little bit about Brushpiles real quick. When you we got way sideways, but we keep it organic, man. It kind of, you got a title and we're just letting it flow. You just let it flow, man. It's organic. What do you when you find a Brushpile? How do you decide what your first bait is, and then what kind of a rotation of baits do you go through on a Brushpile?
Okay. So repeat that one more time. So how do you decide what?
So your side, I mean, I'm assuming you probably, let's just say most people will side scan, they got their Lowrance and their side scan. They'll find several brush points. They'll drop a waypoint. They'll come around. If you're old school, you're just going to have your 0.1 antenna is going to point your boat towards that blue dot, and you're going to make your cast like forecast later.
I use that too, but
forecast later, you're going to hit that brush pile, or you can put your trolling motor down and active target, hit it on the first time. What are you throwing the first time based on what dictates what you're throwing based on what you see underwater, and then
that's definitely a good question. So it's for me, I don't like to, I'll try to, for one, never ride over a brush pile before I fish it. If I have it marked beforehand, it's even better. just because I think the fish are kind of smart, and I'll try to stand up and I'll try to keep my distance from it. And if I see a brush pile, and it honestly, it depends on how the fish are set up, and it depends on the weather conditions. So, if it's sunny, you might want something. It's going to be one of two things. It's going to be something with a lot of flash, or it's going to be something that's extremely subtle and natural. One or two, so whether that's a spinner bait or something, or a top water, say something with a lot of flash, like it could be a walking bait that's straight up chrome, right? You know what I mean? Something with a lot of flash, or something that's completely subtle, like a Damiki rig type bait, or a shaky head or whatever. Like it's one of the two. And then if it's cloudy, it could be a variety of things. I mean, it's usually more matte colors, usually more like less shiny, less flashy, usually more of a straight up, just more opaque style colors. Like if I'm throwing like a jerk bait or something like that, it's got to be like a white, or a fluke, it's got to be like more of a white, or like a pearl. It depends on the depth of the pile you're fishing. So if the pile's in 35 feet deep and it comes up to 25 feet deep, it's a totally different bait than what I'm going to throw in a pile that's 15 feet deep coming up to 10, because you might have one that you would throw top water over, and one that you're going to throw a shaky head or a drop shot or whatever. And you know what I mean? And it depends. And they change day by day, depending on the lake you're at. So, you might catch them in the shallow piles one day and the deep piles the next. But
do you usually go in, like, let's just say you got a little run of 15-foot brush piles. They're topping out at 15 foot. Maybe they're small brush piles. Bottom of the lake 18, they're coming up to 15. So just Christmas trees, basically.
Real small ones, yeah.
Yeah. So are you a guy that wants to fire like a deep diving crankbait through there first? Or will you throw like a jig or something? Like what's... And I guess it's going to have to do with, is it windy or is it slick?
You really got to get a pulse on how the fish are feeling. And that sounds like super vague, but here's the deal. It's like anything else. Think about brush piles, like off the bank, very much like fishing a lay down on the bank. If you fish 2 or 3 of them and you throw a spinner bait the first 3 casts and you don't get a bite on your first few casts on a spinner bait, and you pick up a jig and you get a bite on a jig, and you go to the next one, try throwing a jig first versus a spinner bait. You know what I mean? Like it typically will pattern pretty well across the board. So I wouldn't get too caught up in, there's always going to be a bait that'll catch them a little bit better than the others. There are times of the year where you can throw more aggressive baits. Sometimes you can crank piles. And at that point, the only thing you need to be aware of is that if you throw that crankbait in there, there's a very good chance you're going to pull those fish. And what I mean by that is they're going to bite it or they're going to follow it. And it's the same situation with the topwater, and it's the same situation with a whole lot of baits that aren't on the bottom. So if you're going to throw a moving bait, a big profile moving bait over the top of that brush pile, you better plan to make a move pretty quick. You better plan to make a move pretty quick to the next one if they don't bite it, and you might catch less fish. Or if they're on it, you're going to catch a bunch more. If you have a pile that you want to sit on because you know that there's 5-pounders in it, or there's big ones in it, a lot of times that's when you kind of switch it up and you try to throw something a little more subtle. It might be a jig, it might be a Carolina rig, it might be a drop shot, it might be a shaky head or whatever else, right? Like that's when I'm going to kind of slow it down and throw something that's a lot more subtle that the fish aren't going to follow out of the pile. I don't want my fish to come from, I'm throwing at it 60, 70 feet out, and then all of a sudden they're 10 feet from the boat. If it's something I'm planning on sitting on, if I'm going to just make a few casts and see if they bite and see what's there, that's when, like you mentioned a glide bait earlier. Like that's a good example, right? Like it's going to pull every fish in the vicinity out of it. And the odds of getting bit are low. but so it depends.
All right, we're going to do a $25 Baitworks giveaway. If you want to get in the drawing, hashtag capital NPFL. We'll let that run for a little bit. And we actually 2 questions came in here right at the end. What is the deepest you ever drew a fish up in deep water with top water?
Probably. Okay, so I've caught them. I've caught them before over 45 foot of water with top water before, but that's over the top of brush piles that came up to like 15 feet under the surface. So realistically, like 15, and that was like cane stuff, but like usually like 15 feet is kind of the deepest that I like to go, and it better be some pretty clear water, and you got to make long casts, because the problem is if you throw it over, if it's deeper than that, they might still know it's there, but usually your cast distance isn't far enough to where they have enough time to make it up to get it before you get to the boat, and they'll see your boat and they usually don't commit at that point. But that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a long way. 15 feet is a long way. That fish is really, I think about that when I'm fishing grass mats,
Yeah.
you're asking a fish to do a lot. For a fish to blow up through a mat, they're really wanting that bait. For a fish to swim from the top of a brush pile that's topped out on 15 all the way up to the top, they're fired up. They definitely got to want that bait to go.
Oh, they got to want it. They got to want it. Yeah, that's for sure. And that's one of those deals where it's like, and you'll know for sure if they're on it or they're not, because if you throw that top water up there over the top of one, and that's more so specific, like that's more of like a spotted bass type fishery.
Right.
Like that's not your like dirty water largemouth deal. Like typically speaking, like you might get them to lift up out of the pile, but they're just probably going to follow it a couple feet under the surface. So that it's situational. It's situational depending on the lake, but there's always a bait that they're biting better at a certain piles. And if you figure it out, you can typically pattern it pretty quick.
Last question, and then we'll give this away and shut her down. Stephanie wants to know, serious question. People say fish are just as active in cold water as warm water. If so, why do you need to slow down in the fall and the winter? We totally switched it up. We're like coming into the spring and summer, and we're going back the other way. That's a good question, though. What's your thoughts on that?
Ironically, because I know she was the one that hates forward facing sonar. The one Stephanie, the thing that I learned the most from looking at forward facing sonar is I don't think you need to slow down. I think it's there's always a bait. There are always a couple baits that they'll follow a little bit better than others. So like think about this, for example, like shallow square bill cranking in the wintertime. Like if you get a sunny day in the wintertime, like that's always a bite. And I'm usually winding it pretty fast, like a red crankbait, like on rocks and stuff like that around the winter. As long as the water is in the 40s still, like upper 40s, they'll still chase a crankbait and stuff like that, moving pretty quick. Outside of that, like there's definitely something to like dead sticking a jig and stuff like that. There's absolutely some of that. But I think you can fish fast or slow in either one.
Yeah. I think on that, like there's fish in the middle of summer that are super lethargic. There's fish in the spring that are super lethargic.
Yeah.
There's fish in the winter that are super lethargic. But there's also that same percentage of fish that are active. They have to go feed.
Yeah. So like in August, August is a great example. There's to me, it's like almost there's 2 bites. And I know we're like going on 2 hours now, but so I apologize, people. I appreciate
No, it's been great, man. It's been great.
Like I think like in August, like there's 2 bites. Like there's a hardcore reaction bite, and I think this is most of the year. I think there's a hardcore reaction bite, and there's like a super slow bite. So it's like you got like a super slow dragging deal where they hardly want it moving or sitting still or barely coming along the bottom, or polar opposite, as fast as you can freaking wind a crankbait type of situation. Like they want that thing coming. So I think there's a reaction and a super slow bait. And I think that's kind of the same situation for the winter time. It's just that the reaction, you might not be reeling as fast for that. But I say that, but like over by y'all, for example, or you get over towards like Lake of the Ozarks or Lake Cumberland or whatever, like there's a bite to be had in 40-something degree water with a crankbait on an 8-to-1 reel, winding as fast as you can on a rock crawler or whatever that stupid crankbait is. Yes. Yeah, it's great crankbait. I say it's stupid. It's caught a lot of bass.
Yeah, it has. It's been around for a minute.
So, yeah, summer can be slow, but it
can be stupid slow. It can be hard. It can be just hard to get a bite sometimes, especially from like 9 to 4 or 9 to 3. That middle of the day, man, it's like when it's 90 degrees and it's just slick. There's not a cloud in the sky.
Yeah, but that's when you want to pick, like when I was talking about a crankbait, like that's when you want to pick it up.
I'm gonna try that.
Like when you're like, God, it's hot, it's brutal out here, this is not fun anymore, and the last thing you want to do is exert energy doing this number, like that's when they bite it.
Yeah. You're making them bite it. Like it's total reaction. It's not a feeding thing. You're trying to make them. You're trying to make them eat something like.
That's when instincts take over, man. When if they see a bait fish coming by that fast, they're like, I don't want to eat it, but I've already watched this thing come by 30 times. Like I better bite it, or a couple times. Like that's it. It's one of two. Instincts taking over. Fishing slow to talk them into it, or you're getting reaction.
Absolutely.
All right, let's give away this Baitworks gift card here.
Sounds good.
Here we go.
You got to pull it up on the other side.
Huh? Cole H. All right. Congratulations. Cole, get a hold of me on Gabe Montgomery Fishing, or 10 Horse Monty on Facebook, or 10 Horse Monty 6 on Instagram, and we will get you taken care of tomorrow or the day after. So congratulations. That's going to be a $25 gift card at Baitworks for whatever you want. And also, if you use the code THM10, it's scrolling across the ticker there in the bottom of the screen, you can get you 10% off at Baitworks. And I appreciate all the people that have used that code, because I see that and it means a lot, because it's a great way to support the channel and give back and just say, hey, I'm going to buy some stuff, and why not use that code to get back to the channel and
get a new Virtus rod.
Yeah, get a new Virtus rod, some Bahio sunglasses, whatever it is.
Heck yeah.
All right, well, let's wrap this up, man. Any closing comments or shout outs or anything like that? It's been fun, man. It's been fun to hang out.
I appreciate you having me, man. Anytime. I really enjoyed it. Hopefully we run into each other in person at some point in time, or we run into y'all. But no, I do. I guess I'll give a few shout outs or whatever to sponsors and stuff like that. But I really appreciate y'all having me on the show. If y'all want to follow me or anything like that on social media, my handle's Corbishley Bass. So that's my handle or whatever on Instagram and Facebook. But other than that, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much my rundown.
Are you guys going to Lake of the Ozarks again? Or
yeah, we actually are this fall.
Yeah, I might see you down there. That's about 4 hours. I'm gonna try to make it down there and just hang out for a couple of days. I might actually shoot some videos, some content down there, and do some interviews with people as they're heading out to the lake. I actually probably coming off the water and be better, but I'll definitely look you up if I get down there.
Yeah, absolutely. Holler at me. That'd be cool. So thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate everybody.
Yeah, thanks for everybody hanging out with us. It's been a good time. We do every Tuesday night at 8:00. People that are new on here, love to see you back next week, and we will shut this down.
Thanks, guys.